I listened to a lot of fucking heavy metal last night. I'm Neef Orion, and I'm a Schmo.
I'm Cairo, and I'm also a Schmo.
And this is the Two Schmo Show. I have a lot of energy in me that I can't articulate properly.
Yeah, this week has been less... I don't know quite how to describe it. It's been different than the last one, but the stuff that's been happening has been quite frustrating. Preventable.
Yeah. Cairo ruined my mood before the show, everybody. Blame him.
I guess we can get into that story because it is pretty much the headline for U.S. news right now, and it is extremely tragic. But there have been a series of massive flash flooding events in central southern Texas that have had major fatalities involved. Hundreds of people, I think technically thousands of people now, thousands of people displaced, hundreds have been rescued, and so far at least 68 confirmed fatalities, with 11 still missing, at least.
It really upsets me. Can you tell the best part about this?
Yes. Yeah, so in that aspect of it, I have been trying to double check here again to confirm the information that was coming out with this, and as I understand it, the short of this is that there are obviously government weather programs that monitor weather patterns and issue forecasts and recommend alerts for particular areas. In this case, the area that was hit by this flash flooding was issued multiple flood warnings and watches in the days and hours ahead of this event, and that local news stations, broadcasters, social media had reported those flash flood warnings and watches as they were happening, but that because of some particular relatively local ordinances, there was no system in place to send alerts to people's phones of those major weather events. The same way that one would expect for, like an Amber Alert, that kind of a situation.
Yeah, that's really fucked up.
Mm-hmm. In particular, a lot of the story around this has been centered on a girls' camp that is situated on the banks of the Guadalupe River in Caryville County, Texas, where so far at least 21 children from the camp have been confirmed to have died, and there are still another 11 missing. And on top of that, there were also, obviously, counselors, similar adults, that were caught in this as well.
Thank you, Cairo. I was just too happy today.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, extremely tragic. Very frustrating.
I like to think this is what happens when you have, do you have the game at your job?
I'm not sure what you mean, so probably not.
Okay, so I'm going to just kind of talk about this very candidly. Working for a big fucking company, I have learned there's this thing called the game, right? The game is real simple. It's lying. It is a lot of fucking lying through your teeth. And it's basically just knowing what word to say to give off the impression of this is what you are, and selling yourself to different positions in such a way that you get more benefits along your lying path. So it's basically a game of trying to bullshit your way up the ladder, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I see it a lot at my job. I've seen it a lot. Ever since I've acknowledged the game at my job, I see it everywhere in the world.
I wouldn't go to the extent of saying that it is lying in my work, but there is definitely very specific language used that is done to try and avoid future scrutiny. Put it that way.
That's a very good way of putting it. I like that.
Yeah, because obviously with my work, everything that we do has the potential to be reviewed by the FDA at pretty much any point in the future.
Yeah.
So if you have something that went wrong in some way, but not in a way that was like catastrophic, you want to acknowledge that event in a way that doesn't draw attention to it.
I realize with my work, working for a big insurance company, a lot of what we can do can get like subpoenaed in court.
Mm-hmm.
So the game has to be played off written record. This is all to say, this is what happens when you have the fucking game get into your politics, and you get a lot of people who just know what to say to make you like them, and they can't back up their bullshit, and you get shit like this.
Yep.
Yeah. You get dead kids. Congratulations.
Yeah.
Yeah.
To bring the mood up, sarcastically I say, unfortunately, it is not exactly like Texas particularly, but the U.S. at large cares about that particularly.
Nobody cares about that, you know? Because, like, the game is the going... Like, the thing with the game is you either play or you lose, right? So I think, like, at this point, it's just too ingrained into culture for anybody to really give a fuck about not playing the game. That's just me.
So I have found the quote that was sparking off a lot of the criticisms. This is from top official in Kerr County, County Judge Rob Kelly at a press conference. When asked why the camps along the Guadalupe River were not evacuated ahead of the flood, quote, "We didn't know this flood was coming. Rest assured, no one knew this kind of flood was coming," and added that we do not have a warning system in the area.
That is bullshit.
Which is bullshit, because we know that federal weather authorities issued flood warnings, flood watches, and then as the flash flooding was happening further upstream, issued immediate urgent evacuations to those areas where the flash flooding was likely to occur. And local broadcasters and social media, things were sharing those warnings ahead of time. There's the clear evidence of that. So it is wholly avoidable.
Do better.
Yeah. More to the point of what I was saying before, though, I was thinking in terms of, like, school shootings.
Yeah.
Like, Uvalde was in Texas, right? And literally nothing happened as a result of that. So, when you see people like Governor Abbott of Texas saying stuff about how much they care, it is very difficult to take them seriously, because we've already seen how they've acted with similar loss of life in the past, which is that they didn't.
Is it too early to say Texas is a ghetto?
I don't think so. I mean, maybe ghetto's a bit extreme, but, like, they have weather alert systems that are just non-existent, that they have access to, that they choose not to. They had a massive school shooting that was maybe not entirely preventable, but could have been greatly mitigated, and nothing has happened to try and fix those problems since. And I think the biggest, most damning part to Texas as a whole is that they have a national, or not national, a statewide electricity grid that regularly fails because they're too stubborn to work out a system that prevents it. Like, they are a shining example of how capitalism actually doesn't work in certain cases, where you can't rely on a company to make sure that you actually get power in the winter.
See, that's why I wanted to call them a ghetto, because, like, quite frankly, you have violent... I shouldn't play too much into that, because it's kind of a harmful stereotype, but, like...
Yes.
I know it's going to piss off the right people to call it a ghetto.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And if you do get pissed off at me calling your great state a ghetto, vote.
Yeah, fix your state.
Fix your state. Get like Michigan, dude. We have our problems. We have fucking Detroit, and I still stand by this is the best state in the goddamn country. You have a Lake Superior? No, you do not. Fuck off. Do you have a Mackinac Bridge? Fuck off.
In other news, where did the other one go? Did you hear about the extremely anti-Semitic term that Trump used yesterday?
Oh, yes, I did, because I thought that was incredibly funny.
Mm-hmm. To quote our president, think of that. No death tax, no estate tax, no going to the banks and borrowing from, in some cases, a fine banker, and in some cases, Shylocks and bad people, with Shylocks being the extremely, discriminatory term for Jewish people.
I honestly can't.
Trump has gone on to say that he didn't understand what the word meant, but, you are clearly acknowledging in your own statement that you know it's not a good thing.
Bro literally set that up to be an insult.
It's crazy. When he was pressed on it, he says, I've never heard it that way. To me, it's someone that, say, a money lender at high rates. And then he doesn't say that he's not going to use it. He says, you view it differently than me.
Well, I mean, that's kind of like how the old boomer adage is. He means it as an insult, but he doesn't mean it as that kind of insult. And rather than admit they may have gone over a line, he's just going to double down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's messed up.
I wonder what the great nation of Israel feels about that.
Yeah, well, I was reading that overnight they killed some 30 people in an airstrike, and Netanyahu is going to be in the U.S. to keep working on that ceasefire truce thing. So it's going great.
I take
just another 40 people murdered. But yeah, they're definitely going to get it this time.
One of these days, dude. They will get there. Israel is a lot like a cat. It's like one of those cats that just kind of is pissed off at the world for being a cat.
Mm-hmm.
They just want to go outside and, murder a bunch of things, but they gotta stay inside the U.S. door. So, when they go outside, they get murdery real fast. And when we're inside and we're making them dress up and whatnot, all we're doing is filling them with more white-hot rage that they will take out when they go outside. And occasionally they come out and just drop shit all over the counter.
Absolutely.
Can we get a Garfield edit where it's Netanyahu as a cat and then Donald Trump as John Arbuckle?
What past that?
I don't know. I just think it'd be fucking surreal and funny.
Okay.
Yeah. I think just putting them in the weirdest situations to make them seem less important would just be funny as fuck. Sometimes we just gotta take the piss out of these people.
Well, speaking of those people, Congress has passed their, I hate that it's called this, the Big Beautiful Bill Act, which is going to be increasing the national debt over the next 10 years to the tune of another $3.3 trillion.
One of these days we're going to be able to buy U.S. debt instead of war bonds. It's going to be so fucking delicious.
It sure is something. Especially at the time as the US dollar is continuing to devalue itself. I saw a chart that was a collection of, I think, the top 20 or 30 nations' currencies compared against one another. And the United States, since the start of this year, has performed by far the worst, being devalued already just this year by some 7%. So that's great. The other side of that, which is absolutely psychotic, apparently, allegedly, that's an intended effect of what has been happening, is to intentionally devalue the United States dollar so that U.S. exports are more affordable and appealing to foreign countries. However, the other side of that is that the U.S. dollar is weaker when you have to buy things from other countries. And the U.S., as Trump has been railing on for, the last year and a half now, the U.S. imports more than it exports. So that seems like a bad thing for the U.S., right?
I don't get it.
But, what do I know? What do I know? Yeah. The analysis that I've heard that I very strongly agree with is that we're going to be looking back on the passage of this spending bill in the same way that we currently, or that a lot of people currently do, and that most people should view the terms of Ronald Reagan, where the kinds of things that are being cut here, while there are some that will be immediately, very quickly felt, and especially by people who are already marginalized, people who are already struggling to get by, there's further aspects of this that we will not understand for a very long time. They're going to be systemic problems that we are going to have to grapple with for decades from now. In the same way that some up to 17 million people losing their healthcare means that those people are going to be losing their healthcare today. It also means that future people won't have their healthcare. It means that those people who had that healthcare are going to be dealing with systemic problems and the results of that, Just as one example, if you can't get treatment for chronic pain because your healthcare is gone, it is pretty well known that people turn to, illegal measures, illicit, I guess would be the better word for it, measures to treat that pain themselves. Likewise, one of the provisions in this raises the effective retirement age for people who are receiving disability and are on Medicaid. That previously, if you were age 55 or greater, you no longer had to show that you were actively looking for work. Now that has been increased to the age of 65. So that is a 10-year band of people who either have to go back into the workforce or spend significant amounts of time demonstrating that they are trying to go back into the workforce, or they lose their healthcare. And as a result of that, could very well lose other aspects of their life too. Good example that I was watching about this, I believe they talked about it on the Last Week Tonight recently, but I might have getting the programs mixed up, was the idea of how things like job requirements remove people from the services that those job requirements are for, not because the people don't have jobs or that they can't demonstrate that they have those jobs, but because the barriers that are put in place to show for those people to prove that they have a jobs are either too prohibitive in terms of the documentation that's required or the time that's required, or by the means that you have to demonstrate that you understand that. How many people do you think can go onto a computer and figure out how to upload PDFs to show that they've been putting in job applications in places? A lot probably can, but it's not going to be everyone. And if you can't do that, or if you try to do that and a system doesn't work, you're going to stop trying to do that. And now you don't have healthcare.
Wahoo!
And that is only one aspect of the awfulness that is going to be coming out of this big, beautiful bill. The better term that I've heard for it is the big, ugly bill, because it is going to be an ugly situation that we have to deal with for a very long time.
The only big, beautiful bill I enjoy is when Bill Ward took his shirt off at the Black Sabbath concert last night. Wahoo! 76-year-old man nipples, am I right?
Mm-hmm.
Honestly, our not, well, maybe our grandchildren, our kids are going to kick us for letting this happen.
Mm-hmm. The other part of this that is much more immediately concerning is that a provision of the bill includes an additional $150 billion to be spent on border security, detention centers, and immigration enforcement officers.
Yeah.
So that means that the Immigrations and Customs Enforcement Agency and Border Patrol are now funded to a greater amount than I believe the numbers that I heard was that it is now greater than the entirety of the Marine Corps, and it is greater than the combined budgets of the rest of our Department of Justice systems. So that's like the DOE and the FBI, the Prison Bureau systems combined. ICE is now bigger than all of those combined.
And it's not even that big of an issue.
Well, and it's one that's deeply unpopular, too. This is a really good analysis that I've been seeing. There's a New York Times writer, Jamal, who is a regular poster on Blue Sky, and he uploads short pieces of his own to YouTube quite frequently, that was talking about how badly Trump and the Republicans in general are polling on cases of immigration enforcement once people realize what's actually happening, right? You have people who are like, yeah, we want to get rid of the illegals. And then when you explain to them that that means you're getting rid of the people who have been here for decades, people who do hard backbreaking work that get you your produce, who, you know, clean hotel rooms and that kind of stuff, they immediately turn around on what their opinion is of these enforcement acts. And it's deeply frustrating. All this information is already out there, and people just don't want to look for it.
I think there's always this really fun, like, myth I've been, like, slowly seeing deconstructed around. The idea that, like, work makes someone noble, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And, like, just this idea that, like, the lazy immigrant coming over and just living off, like, our welfare, which I don't know how an immigrant can live off, like, another country's welfare, but go on, boo.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah, they can't.
Yeah.
Like, to be very explicit, for immigrants, if you're an illegal immigrant, you can't apply for this stuff. But there are still many, many people who are technically not here legally, people who've overstayed visas or who immigrated here without going through customs, that still pay into those systems like Social Security, even though that they know they'll never get $1 out of it.
Yeah. Ain't that fucked up?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, like, the idea that, like, these immigrants who, you know, make sure that my lettuce gets on the table at a recent rate, decent deal.
Right, here's another one. The people who make sure that you can have lettuce in December.
Truth.
Like, that is an extremely modern delicacy that we have, is produce that is relatively fresh and accessible year-round.
I will say this, when I was working in produce, I would notice there was, like, always a quality dip when you can tell something's not in season. But still, it's like, the fact that it's edible is fucking amazing. Yeah,
it's not a rotten pile of goo.
It's not horse food.
Right. It's genuinely a scientific marvel that we've been able to figure this out.
Yeah. It is one of the luxuries of the middle class, as I'll put it. And just, like, the idea that we're punching down on these lower class people, and now we realize we have to suffer the consequences of our actions. It's very funny, but it's also tragic in its own way.
We also, this week, I guess technically this was earlier today, on CNN's State of the Union, Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent has announced, or confirmed, I guess, that the tariffs that the Trump administration has been delaying, that were set to go into effect on July 9th, what do you know? They've been delayed again, now to August 1st. I'm going to try and see if I can find the exact quote from it real quick, because it was, like, in part, hilariously just absurd the way that he said it. But if you remember back to, would have been May, early May, late April, there's a Trump official that said something to the tune of, we are getting, hundreds of requests from countries to negotiate on these tariffs. And with this interview, that entire narrative has been completely deleted. Where did it go here? Saying that part of their process between now and August 1st is going to be sending out letters to 100 smaller countries. Quote, saying that if you don't move things along, then on August 1st, you will boomerang back to your April 2nd tariff level.
But we've really been doing this for 4 months now, huh?
Yeah. Yes, we have. In classic fashion, though, this is another one of the great examples of the Trump always chickens out mentality. And yeah.
Gee, Donnie, what are you gonna do now?
Well, if he's like Elon Musk, he's gonna go make a new political party.
I'm so fucking excited to see the Doge party.
Have you heard what it's called?
No, I have not. That's why I called it
Do you want to take a guess?
It's something fucking stupid like X, isn't it?
That would be too consistent and on brand.
What the fuck could he possibly have named it then?
It's extremely generic.
The party? The Mario Party?
The America Party.
This dude is not even fucking American. Well, he's not. I understand he's a citizen, right? I understand.
Yes.
However,
though he did come here illegally, or he overstayed his visa illegally, so, with the way that our administration's been going, that's something that they apparently give a shit about looking into a deep scrutiny now.
I think the America Party, it's kind of a blessing in disguise at this point, because I really hope it picks enough traction up that it eats alive Republican primaries.
Mm-hmm. We'll see. Politico has some good coverage of it here. Quoting from their article, Elon Musk declared the launch of his new political party on Saturday, a project he has repeatedly floated in the weeks since his breakup with Donald Trump, but provided no details on how he planned to jump through the hoops necessary to establish this viable alternative. And if you go and see how this all happened on Elon's Twitter account, he's been teasing this concept for a while and then put up a poll asking whether or not he should create a new party. And a quote from his response to the end of that poll, by a factor of 2-1, you want a new political party and you shall have it. When it comes to bankrupting our country with waste and graft, we will live in a one-party system, not a democracy. We live in a one-party system, not a democracy. Today, the America Party is formed to give you back your freedom. And I would assume, like literally everything else he does with the Twitter poll, he won't actually follow the outcome of it.
I was actually about to make a joke that is this the first Twitter poll he actually does all the way through?
I think it would be if he does. I think this will be extremely funny if it happens, and would obviously be much, much more damaging to the Republican Party than the Democrats. I would very much enjoy seeing them fracture themselves in a way that is so narcissistic, so personal for Musk, because the only thing he cares about here is that the EV tax credits have been massively slashed by the new spending bill.
I just say fuck them.
Mm-hmm. In good news.
Yo.
Because there's actually good news this week. Let me get into some movies. federal judge who talked about this ruling a few weeks ago, but this is a follow-up from the case where it was ruled that the government had illegally canceled the National Institute of Health grant program. And the outcome of this has been a reiteration of that. And I like this line, and this is mostly just all I wanted to say, is that you can't ban DEI grants without bothering to define DEI.
That's a good line.
Yeah. Basically, he overturned or declared that the government's actions were illegal because they were doing a racism, I guess. That they were targeting these programs and then cutting funding from them without giving any reasoning for that. And then as a part of this case, when pressed for what that reasoning would be, they completely failed to do that. Just totally circular. So I doubt this is going to do a ton long term, of course, because like we just had a spending bill passed, and part of that includes massive cuts to our sciences and our education fields. But, you know, at least they can't do it this way. Yay. They can't cancel the programs that have already been funded. I guess that's the takeaway from this. They'll stop funding new programs, but the old ones are safe for now.
I do think it's kind of interesting, actually, the idea of DEI still. Because, like, I know it's still, like, the big, like, target word for the Republican Party. But, like, I think it also kind of shows they have no real thought leaders, because no Republican has given a hard definition of what DEI is, and they all love to just use that generic term, and nobody wants to step up, you know?
Oh, so that's by design, though, right? They want DEI to be this vague, nebulous thing so that they can apply it to anything that they want without being criticized for it. It's not particularly different from the words that they've used in the past. You know, they used to love throwing around socialist, right?
Yeah.
Socialism, communism, fascism. They love words like that they know their average viewer doesn't understand what it actually means, and DEI is just the next one in a very long line.
I guess I should rephrase that. I know it's by design, but it also really goes to show that, like, they're all kind of dominoes in that they're all the same height, they're all the same shape, they're all there to line up in a specific purpose. It's just it's interesting to me, you know.
And to extend the analogy, they don't do anything unless somebody else pushes them to.
That's very true. Yeah. Like,
all of the new wave of this nomenclature that came out, these pushes of what's actually being targeted, came from when the Republican Party was behind and they needed to do something to turn that around. And DEI, woke, you know, whatever you want to call it, was part of that larger push that gave them something that they could sit behind and point at to be critical of without actually doing anything. Now that they're the ones in control, they don't want things to change, so they're happy to just sit back and let the press, particularly the Fox News type press, just report on the things that Trump is doing as president.
It is really fucking surreal to me, because it's, in some way, I don't know how they're not bored, like, not, like, the Republicans themselves, but their audience. I'm really surprised, like, we've seen fads. There's like millions of fads in culture and whatnot, right? And like where everything is just this constant arc of finding the next term, doing the next narrative. And although they say they're doing something, there's always another demon to defeat. You think it would get boring, you know, like kind of like how we've had the Marvel Cinematic Universe kind of repeat the same formula a lot, and people are getting disillusioned with that. It's really fucking weird to me that it doesn't work in politics as often. And like, I know there's some like media theory shit I could probably go into that could probably justify that, like cultivation theory or like uses and gratification. But like, it's still just interesting to me that they just want to do this Groundhog's Day maneuver constantly. It just makes me wonder what a post-Donnie Republican Party is going to look like. Yeah,
that's a good question, and I don't think they have a good answer, honestly.
I think they're going to default to like JD and Johnson, but like
they will. But those people don't have nearly the same personality.
They don't have Riz. like straight up. Like, I'm going to talk like the kids now, Kyril. Ready?
Go for
Just
it.
a reminder, I'm almost 30. Those jokers don't have fucking bussin' energy, you know what I mean?
Hmm.
I'm going to shower after this.
We did have a really good example of this just this last week, though, right? When the whole Israel-Iran thing was happening, and Trump went on Blue Sky and declared his ceasefire that was immediately broken and has continued to fracture since. He was pissed about it, very obviously, and he went to the media, and when he was pressed on it, he said they don't know what the fuck they're doing. And it's like, yeah, you're right. That is true. And it is extremely unpolitical of someone in his position of authority to say something like that. But you can kind of see when he has these moments of like, okay, I get what people see in the guy, even if they are ignorant to his actual policies. I can see why the way that he talks like that is appealing to people. And then you get to people like JD Vance or whoever the hell the House of Representatives majority leader guy is. What the hell is his name? Mike Johnson.
Yeah, Johnson.
These people who just have negative charisma. They are unlikable, and the more you see them, the least likable they get. Like Mike Pence was a freaking goober, but like you at least got the vibe from the guy that he like kind of cared, you know? He had morals, he had principles that he stood for, even if they were awful, they were consistent. And these people seem like they changed their beliefs on the day of the week depending on what's most advantageous to them.
You know what they are, right? They're nice guys. They're like those fuckers with fedoras you would see on college campuses back in the 2010s.
That is such a great example because of how this is something that I need to find better information on, because I've seen people who I know are very well versed in the rise of the modern Republican Party and how it has twisted and shaped in the wake of Trump. But the ways that it has been shaped by Gamergate specifically is horrifying and fascinating.
I came to that epiphany earlier this week as well, because I do agree with you. I think there was no better recruitment platform for the Republican Party in the 21st century than Gamergate.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't think it's an exaggeration to say that the modern Republican Party is split between the 4chan incels that lost their home when they got kicked off 4chan and the old school evangelical deep south type of racism. And that's the two foundational elements of it. And right now they've just found common ground in being kind of assholes. Yeah. But eventually, you're either going to have someone like Elon Musk who's going to come in and take the Gamergate crowd away for his own umbrella, or things are going to get bad enough to a point that it's going to fracture.
Well, I think like those two, the evangelical crowd and the incel crowd, they're kind of like symbiotic in their own like little bubble of culture, because let's face it, a lot of the incel stereotype is like rooted in that deep conservatism. And like it's formed by the well-off middle-class child becoming an adult, and yet they haven't fully fucking grown up because, let's face it, conservatism. And I'm striking this to liberals as well, because I think this is a bigger problem in the country in general.
Absolutely is.
A lot of people don't know how to fucking grow up nowadays, and it's really easy to see that.
Isn't it interesting how much the modern Republican Party has put Trump on a pedestal as a father figure and refer to him regularly as such?
He's Daddy Donnie. He's Daddy Donnie.
Yes, he is.
I think there's a lot of interesting things, right? That like we don't talk about Eric Trump, right? We don't talk about Don Jr. We don't talk about Ivanka as much. But like I always see the right always have a special place for Barron as like a little bit of a younger brother figure. And again, I think it is part of that like paternal like want for Donnie as a parental figure.
Yeah, could totally see it.
Yeah, no, I think you hit the nail on the head. There is very much of a Papa Smurf analog in the Republican Party. Incel Smurf. He just sits in his little mushroom house all day and yells at Smurfette when she walks by. Wear some smurfing clothes, you fucking you smurfing whore. Something like that.
Smurfing Smurf.
You smurfing Smurf.
Have you seen trailers for the new Smurfs movie?
You mean the trailers for the fucking Smurf movie? No offense to Rihanna.
Yeah, the one with Rihanna. Yeah.
No offense, Rihanna. Do whatever you want to do. I get it.
Yeah.
Why Smurfs?
No, I'm not going to say. I think it is long past time that we start holding these massively independently wealthy alleged artists accountable for the shit they do. I watched a really good piece that was especially critical of Ryan Reynolds and Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. Two people who are massively independently wealthy at this point, to the tune of like not just having their own brand of liquor or whatever, but like Ryan Reynolds bought a soccer team. He bought a telecommunications company, right?
Yeah.
These people are obscenely wealthy and they could absolutely choose to work on whatever projects they want to. And they basically do, but it just keeps ending up being that they have terrible taste, I guess. Either they have terrible taste or they are intentionally choosing movies to work on so that they can further promote their branding of their tequila or whatever the hell it is, their gin, right? And I feel like people like Rihanna need to be, at a certain point, right, called out for the same thing. Like, you don't have to do a shitty Smurfs movie. You don't have, you just don't. You can do something better. Please do something better.
Speaking of someone who is famous just for kind of being famous at the moment, you know who? What caught me off surprise yesterday?
What's that?
The Black Sabbath show, right? I'm going to talk about this periodically because it's still in my fucking mind. What a fucking amazing concert. Guess who hosted the whole fucking 10-hour show?
Oh, I have no idea.
Jason fucking Momoa. Yeah. Like, good on Jason. He seemed like he was having the time of his life. And to be honest, if I got to hang out with all those famous bands for like a day and probably get free drinks, I'd probably be just as happy as Jason Momoa, even though I don't drink.
Credit to Dwayne Johnson specifically, though. We'll talk more about some of this later, but I was to the theaters this week and saw a trailer for the upcoming movie The Smashing Machine. It is an A24 flick featuring Dwayne Johnson in the role of Mark Kerr in a biographical piece going through Mark Kerr's life. Kerr being a former wrestler and MMA fighter.
So work. Yeah.
I am optimistic that maybe this is Dwayne finally getting to the point of not wanting to make shit all the time, not wanting to make like fucking Skyscraper, whatever the hell that was, movies.
You know, I think there's a good
Red
actor
One,
in Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson.
Oh yeah, absolutely. There totally is. And it's kind of always the same character, but he plays that character really well, right? Because he's been doing it for the better part of like 35 years at this point, whatever it is.
Yeah.
Totally is something in there, but he keeps making shit like Red One.
I think it's because he's
or
afraid
Red
to be
Notice.
vulnerable. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think...
I hope this is a turning point, but we'll have to see, of course.
Good art comes from like being vulnerable as just like a principle, and nothing Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson has ever done has ever tried to reach past badass.
Yeah, well, because he always plays himself, more or less.
Exaggeration of himself.
Yeah, he plays the himself that he did when he was a wrestler.
Yeah,
even when he's tried to get away from the Rock moniker, he is always still, acting as The Rock in his movie performances. There is a fascinating difference between when he was first in the Fast and the Furious movies as was it Hobbs, whatever his name is.
Yeah.
Where he comes in as like the villain of this particular story, and now that he's a recurring character, he's just The Rock again. They had him have a mustache. And then he shaved the mustache. That's how you know he went from being a bad guy to a good guy.
Only villains have facial hair or Slavic last names.
Mm-hmm.
And The Rock is neither of those.
Do have one last piece to go through before we get into the movie stuff.
Please.
This was the one that you showed me. There is a campaign here in the good old state of Michigan to start and get a ballot measure for 2026 to have ranked choice voting.
I'm proud of our state.
I hope it works. They have an uphill battle, but I'm optimistic, and I wish them absolutely the best. We saw just last week with the primary election of Zorin in the New York Democratic electoral primary, where they used ranked choice voting, and yeah, I think it would be awesome.
I would love our next primary to be ranked choice.
Mm-hmm.
Mainly because I think it's very good at getting the shitheads out, and quite frankly, I believe that it would help really... I'm trying to choose my words carefully here, because Michigan is a weird state. We have Detroit, but we also have the Upper Peninsula.
Mm-hmm.
And I think ranked choice voting is really great in a populist view, because it gives Detroit a big voice and doesn't let them get overshadowed by the fucking Upper Peninsula. At the same time, I do worry about the Upper Peninsula's representation.
I am not concerned about that, I'll be frank. Because ranked choice voting wouldn't change the ultimate outcome of the vast majority of elections. I think that the biggest thing that ranked choice voting does that is the positive for it is that it allows candidates who share common philosophies and ideologies to campaign alongside each other. It is not so immediately hostile and combative where you have everybody trying to fight against everybody else. And we saw this in the New York primary where Zorin and Landers campaigned together. Their whole thing was, hey, we both agree with a lot of each other's policies. Here's the things that we largely disagree with, but we think that we are number 1 and 2 in some order. So we're campaigning together. We're good with each other. We're going to hold these rallies together. And you should put us, pick which order you want, but make sure that it's us two at the top of your ballot.
That's pretty.
And that's awesome. That is such a change to the dynamic of how American elections work, and would be so welcome, especially as you have people who are, I think, legitimately tired of both Republicans and Democrats, where you can have like a Democrat campaigning with a Green Party member or an independent candidate entirely and be like, hey, we aren't from the same party, but we broadly agree with each other's ideology, and we're going to boost both of our name recognition by being out here together and campaigning in these shared events.
You know what? I have a question for you, right?
Yeah.
So I've been thinking a lot about like this idea of the American identity, because I think we're at like a little bit of an interesting impasse here, right? Like you have like this very conservative idea of like the very competitive, best in class, winner take it all America. I always think that there's something about American Renaissance to be had by exchanging that idea for something else, like a reintroduction to ourselves. And I do think something of a cooperative nature, like what you mentioned with Zorin and who's the other guy again? Flanders. Like attitudes like that, cooperation, to build to American exceptionalism, I think that's a very refreshing idea in like a cultural sense for this fucking country, and I wish we thought more about that.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Because I do think that's a symptom of our elections too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That's why you get the game.
Absolutely. The other part of it is that it obviously allows people to, you know, feel more free to vote for parties that aren't the Democrats, the Republicans, right? Because if you vote for a third party and that third party candidate, and there, you know, is not the majority, you still get your next votes counted as people get eliminated off the ballot. So,
good point.
That's the classic argument for it. Would you like to talk movies?
Fuck. I guess we gotta dig up that old dinosaur.
We got some stuff to get to before that, though.
Oh, no.
We normally don't talk like entertainment news, but I thought this was really interesting. The producer of Sinners, who is obviously did Marvel's Black Panther and has been involved with Marvel for a while, in an interview said that the costumes used in Sinners were actually purchased from Marvel for the Blade reboot that ended up not shooting, where apparently the Blade reboot was going to be a period piece set in like the 60s or something like that. I guess it would have to have been a little bit older than that, but it would have been a period piece detached from the modern Marvel franchise, and they had all these costumes made up for it, and then it just never happened. So they just sat around, and Sinners was able to buy them for them.
You see, that sounds so fucking cool.
Yeah, doesn't it?
Like, with Fantastic Four coming out in a few weeks, right? The idea of like these more period piece Marvel movies is kind of really fucking cool. And it makes me upset that we're just digging our heels and dicking around in modern day, where like all the interesting things about the MCU were left in Endgame, you know?
Mm-hmm.
The only thing interesting in the MCU right now is that fucker with the third eye. Well, actually, Spider-Man and Daredevil are pretty cool too. So, should we give Sinners an Oscar nom this year for best costumes just to piss off the MCU?
That'd be funny. And I wouldn't be surprised if it did that. I think it's going to be doing quite handily at the Oscars next year. It just is very nicely set up for that, and its success has certainly helped to elevate it.
I agree.
Mm-hmm. In other stuff, I saw some movies.
You saw movies?
3, in fact. Shout out Celebration Cinema for their Tickets Are Cheap on Tuesdays thing, where they have lots of movies for like $6 a ticket. Hell yeah. Like that. It's like half price almost, with the way that it works out. So I saw The Phoenician Scheme, F1 the movie, and the new Mission Impossible. Let's go through them in that order.
Yeah, I like that order.
The Phoenician Scheme, latest from Wes Anderson, I would say is a pretty clear step back into typical form for Wes Anderson from his last major film, Asteroid City, but still pretty medium. Has its faults. Yeah, I'm not crazy about it. In terms of like its structure is mostly where I think it sort of falls apart a little bit, where they have good, like obviously visually it's very intentionally, meticulously put together, but they open in the credits on this slow motion scene of following the crash of the plane that Benicio del Toro is in. He is recovering in his mansion in a tub of like ice or something. He's in a bathtub with like a breakfast tray over the tub as he's reading the newspaper. And it's at like a third speed, and you have all of these maids and nurses slowly like gliding in and out of the shot through like 4 different doors as they do different things. And it's so tightly choreographed, and it's shot in this square top-down perspective, so you can just see this room and nothing else. And nothing comes close to that afterwards in the next, like, what is it, like, hour 45? And it's a shame.
Okay.
It definitely leans more into the comedy side of Anderson's work, I would say. And I am not sure how much of it lands as a result. Particularly, Anderson still struggles with the like how to end the movie problem, where it gets to a point with the rising action and then it just kind of stops.
Can I give an observation? And if you want, you can tell me I'm totally wrong, but this is just how I feel lately. Do you think Wes Anderson's own style is kind of holding him back at this point?
I don't think so.
You don't think so?
No.
Okay.
Because the problems that I see with it are things that aren't tied to the style. It's stuff like pacing, particularly, where the structure of this movie in particular is problematic for that, where it's basically broken down into like 5 or 6 sections, and each of those sections tries to be about the same length and be its kind of own small story within the story. And I am unconvinced that that structure that he keeps going back to, that we saw in what the hell was it called?
French Dispatch.
Thank you, French Dispatch. He kind of started it there, and he's done it again with this one. It isn't as effective as a traditional narrative in terms of telling a complete story. It lets him do a wide variety of shots, and maybe there's something to be said for that, where the fact that he has so much creative freedom allows him to contrive these scenarios that let him do all of these different things. But I don't think that that is inherent to his style as much as it is the very high status he has attained as a filmmaker.
Fair.
Here we go. I'm gonna send you this picture. Just from the Rotten Tomatoes. This isn't like a super spoiler or anything, but there's this shot that's framed like this: Benicio del Toro in the bath with his breakfast in a bathroom, very clearly, and it's framed exactly like this for the whole shot. It's like 30 seconds of just maids and nurses going in and out, doing thing after thing after thing, weaving in and out of each other, very flowy, dreamlike almost. It is excellent. Probably the best scene in the movie, and it's used for the title sequence, more or less.
It doesn't look like he's bathing in milk.
Because they don't want you to see his penis, probably. But, good question. I think it's supposed to be ice. I think it's supposed to be ice, and it just doesn't come across as well. But, yeah.
It's a good shot. It's objectively a very nice shot.
Yeah. As with everything Anderson does, everything is extremely well constructed, put together in a very literal way. It's just how do you tie thing to thing to thing together that it starts to slip. And at the end, I think it doesn't land. So yeah, I give it's like a solid 7 out of 10 kind of thing. Very enjoyable, but not worth going out of your way for, I feel.
Cool. What about the next one?
Likewise, I find Formula One the movie to be in a very similar boat, where it is very enjoyable. It's a by-the-numbers sports movie, where it focuses more on the psychology of sports and the emotion of it, rather than the actual playing of the sport itself. And I personally, as a fan of the Formula One racing, the series, I found that to be disappointing. I think there's some ways that they could have better incorporated the reality of what it means to race in Formula One into this movie that they really failed at. But that's clearly not what it's trying to do. And what it is trying to do, which is telling this sort of underdog, come from behind story, it does plenty well. And I did enjoy the way that they kind of incorporated it into a real Formula One season that happened. I think this would have been during, a lot of this was filmed last year during that season of actual Formula One. So you see the actual drivers on their teams at actual racetracks and with particular major events that did happen at those circuits happening in the movie. So that was a fun way to ground the story in, not reality, but sort of like a version of reality.
Okay.
Yeah. But otherwise, it is, it's dramatized for a movie, right? Technically, mechanically, there's things that they do that don't make sense at all. There's aspects of the sport that are completely ignored for the sake of telling a better story, which I was disappointed by, but I understand. But yeah, totally fine. 7 out of 10. Wouldn't go out of my way to see it again, but I'll probably see it again at some point.
So is it better or worse than Gran Turismo?
I have not seen Gran Turismo, but I'm curious what the actual ratings on that ended up being, because I don't remember.
I remember.
That's funny.
What's that?
Per the Rotten Tomatoes audience score, Gran Turismo is the better movie.
That's the only one that matters, baby. We were looking for a movie to watch last night before we settled on Anora. And on my end, I came across the Gran Turismo movie, and I spent a good 30 seconds in morbid curiosity about putting that up.
Yeah.
I did not, thank God.
It's probably fine, right?
I guess. There ain't no rule about gamers racing in actual... Yeah.
Maybe not fine, inoffensive. It's not gonna make you angry at it because it's just so milquetoast.
I'm just thinking, what's the word I'm looking for? It's very Air Bud in execution.
Yes.
And I don't feel like that's going to equate to a good drama.
I guess, to its credit, to reiterate, I've not seen it, but it is supposed to be based on some sort of true events. So I don't know what the extent of that actually is, but that is the claim, at least.
Okay.
So, yeah. Finally, last and, in my opinion, absolutely least, Mission Impossible: The Final Reckoning, the 8th and allegedly final Mission Impossible movie. I am shocked to see how highly people have been reviewing this, because I found it to be disappointing. Doesn't quite capture my feelings on it. It is disappointing, but there are multiple parts that I found to be so outside the realm of belief that it took me out of the movie entirely, where things are shown that at a very conceptual level just don't work. As an example, early on in the movie, we are shown the character of Luther again, who we were last shown is dying of cancer and currently undergoing treatment for that. He's been put into sort of hiding as the events of the movies have unfolded so that people can't find him as readily while he still tries to do his work for the IMF. But he's eventually found and is locked in his sort of secret health room thing with a nuclear bomb. No way to get in or out. He's stuck in there with the bomb. Ethan finds him and is, has to be convinced by Luther to leave him there to die, effectively. And the way that happens is that Luther is able to disarm the nuclear part of the bomb, but not the detonator part that would in turn set off the nuclear part of it. So there's still a massive explosion that kills Luther, right? Mm-hmm. In the last part of the movie, another one of these bombs appears. This one is much larger. And now the person who's trying to disarm it is a CIA analyst who used to work at Langley, and based on events that happened in earlier movies, and I'll talk on that part in a little bit here, but was kicked out of the CIA more or less, sent to the middle of fucking nowhere, and has lived there for the better part of 30 years in the middle of nowhere. And in the span of a couple of seconds, he is able to figure out a way to not completely disarm the bomb, but to give them enough time to run away from it before it explodes, that they don't all horribly die in a fireball. While Luther, the guy who is always put out here as like the absolute smartest one, who's on death's door trying to disarm a nuke, isn't aware of that. And this guy just does it and figures it out on his own. It really felt like it diminished the fact that Luther fucking died by having it structured in that way. Past that, there's also just tons of callbacks that are completely unnecessary. A major point of this is that they have to go and try and find some signal that was sent out like 20 years ago and captured by a listening station in the Arctic. And they get there and they find that the person who's running the listening station is just a random guy who happened to be a part of the first Mission Impossible movie. And they try and tie it all into this narrative thing, and it is weird. And I didn't like it. It was unnecessary, I'll put it that way. Very patting itself on the back kind of thing. They did this a lot in the Bond movies, where they wanted everything in the past movies to be retconned and tied back into this grander narrative to raise the stakes and be like, oh, it was this one person all along who was doing all the things. And they do a lot of that in here, where they outright just change the stories of the past movies, and it sucks. Nobody likes that. To the extent, in fact, that I had to go back and rewatch one of the past movies to make sure that I wasn't like losing my mind and not understanding what the hell was happening, because the whole crux of the third movie is Ethan being tasked with finding what is claimed to be a biological weapon that wants to be sold to a Middle Eastern buyer as the justification for an invasion of that Middle Eastern country by the United States to overthrow its government and install a democratic regime. And apparently it's not a biological weapon at all. It's some AI precursor thing that was going to be sold to the Middle East for reasons that completely don't make sense anymore. It is deeply frustrating. And as what's supposed to be the conclusion of this series, and one that I've enjoyed watching quite a lot along the way to here, I was very disappointed by it, and often felt like the movie assumed that I would just go along with the contrivances and the plot conveniences that they made up for this. That the franchise has always been one that is science fiction to a degree, but based in reality, based in facts. And so much of that goes out the window here, where they have like a 5D storage cube thing, which is just complete science. Like 5D was the actual word that they used. And 5D. It is just complete BS. Unnecessarily so.
My friend, what's the fifth dimension?
That's a good question. Like, and that's the thing, right? You introduce these concepts like 5-dimensional storage, because 3-dimensional storage is a thing and is relatively new and novel in technology spaces, right? Where storage traditionally, because it was done on a disk, was done in a single layer. And the concept of having additional layers stacked on top of a single disk or on a single chip of information is new and innovative. But you can't just add numbers to that and have it make sense still. And the alternative, right, is that you could just call it quantum storage or some shit like that, because that is a thing that exists and is still kind of bullshit and meaningless, but it doesn't make you literally call your audience so stupid that they don't understand this thing. Or that this thing doesn't exist.
With 3-dimensional storage, is that just like a lot on the freeway that like is right next to, Dave and Buster's?
Not exactly.
Damn.
But it is much more simpler of a concept than anything involving higher dimensions, right? It's literally just taking a storage medium that we already have and stacking it on top of itself. So rather than having one layer of a thing that's wired together, you have 2 or 3 or 4 layers of that thing that have had the wiring traces built into it in a way that it still functions.
I like when movie writers think we're dumb, Kyril.
I would also I am extremely critical of this movie for a scene early on where Ethan Hunt, the main character, is implied to be beating the shit out of a pair of characters that are trying to hurt the love interest in the story, and they cut the camera away from the fighting to show the love interest's reactions, and they don't cut back until the fight is done. And I'm sorry, if you like that kind of, concept as a storytelling device, it's good for you, but I'm not here to watch Mission Impossible to have the action scenes be cut away from. That is inexcusable, in my opinion, for an action movie to cut away from the action.
So, when's the next Mission Impossible movie?
So far, none have been announced as far as I'm aware.
Are we going to get, like, John Wick Mission Impossible, like, collab movies? Like,
that would be funny.
I really want there to be, like, stupid action movie meets stupid action movie.
Mm-hmm.
My golden goose, the one I want more than anything, is fucking Fast and Furious meet Transformers.
I could see that.
Wouldn't it be stupid?
Yes, but that would be the point, wouldn't it?
Yeah, I want Vin Diesel to, like, get in Optimus Prime and say, okay, Optimus, this time we're doing it for family. And then, like, have a scene where the main villain gets in, like, Megatron or some shit, and then Megatron transforms and crushes him. And then they're like, oh shit, now we have to kill Megatron because he just killed a guy. You know? I need something stupid. I won't watch it, but I just need it to exist. What is next on the agenda?
I did want to mention the last part that I found really dumb and frustrating about this movie is the idea that this all takes place in the period of like 2 months, and that at the start of that 2 months, this AI thing that they're trying to take down has basically completely taken over the internet broadly and is using it to start like putting out deep fake type videos to propagandize the world. And they claim in this movie that that all happens over like a month or two, and that the world goes to shit to the degree that world governments are working with like pens and papers again in that time frame. So I find that is, for me at least, well past suspension of disbelief kind of territory. The time frame of it all.
I can see that.
Yeah. So, next up, we have... I wanted to go through this first, and then we'll get to the... really just one. There's technically 2 movies out this weekend, but I wanted to go through the Rotten Tomatoes 100 greatest movies of the 21st century, or at least the top 25 of them. Because going through all 100 would take a very long time. Maybe we can hit some highlights on another day, but there's some interesting ones for sure that were put into the top here. For a bit of background as to what this list actually is, this is the 100 best movies of the 21st century as reviewed by Tomato Meter approved critics and Rotten Tomato users. So, the guidelines for how the movies are ranked, every one of them is certified fresh. And then they applied a recommendation formula, which considers a movie's tomato meter rating with assistance from the user votes on the popcorn meter to better parse through older movies. Because that's something that we've talked about in the past, where if you have movies that are put onto Rotten Tomatoes before Rotten Tomatoes existed, the reviews get skewed really strangely. where
Yeah.
you'll have stuff that is widely understood to be like a classic kind of a thing or a cult classic, but the critic scores are all like 3.5 out of 5, so it gets bumped down to like a 50% tomato score and is not considered good. So with that, go through the top 25. Does that sound good?
That sounds good to me.
Coming in at number 25 is The Wild Robot 2024.
That's a good choice.
Yeah, both a little surprising and not that surprising. There's a fair amount of animation in this list. I'd imagine a lot of that comes from how a bit skewed animation tends to get critically, where it tends to just get bumped up a little bit higher as a result of the medium. But there's going to be quite a bit that we'll be talking about later. Number 24, The Holdovers 2023, the Paul Giamatti Christmas-ish movie.
It is something that's been on my watch list, and I still have not been able to find it on streaming.
Mine as well. I think I got one of my parents a DVD copy of it a little while ago, and it's just never come up in the rotation. So apparently it got a 97% from critics, 92% from audiences. I hadn't remembered that, but very, very well. Number 23, The Lord of the Rings, The Two Towers.
Why the Two Towers?
I'm not sure. I'm going to do a quick scan here because I was curious if the other ones come up further down in the rating. I do know that The Two Towers is the one that is the most highly rated because it's like 3-act structure, so the second act gets the bump. For this list, though, I'm not seeing the other one, so I wonder if it was just chosen as like a representative of the series. It seems likely because I'm not seeing the others, and I know that... Oh, no, there they are. I guess. Number 88 and number 89, The Fellowship of the Ring and Return of the King. So I don't know.
You see, I'm torn because I want to read The Lord of the Rings, but the movies also like look good to me.
Yeah.
So I don't know what to particularly do to satiate that.
I would imagine in this case it's probably because people just like the story of the Rohirrim people. They think that's neat. And there's, the Battle of Helm's Deep is pretty iconic now. But yeah. Have you read The Hobbit?
I have not.
I would highly recommend starting with that just because it's so short, and it gives a very good idea of tone of the author wise, right? How the movies differ from the books, where a lot of it's the same, of course, but Tolkien, these were written like 100 years ago now, something like that. I guess not quite 100 years ago. 80, 85. So it's really short, though, is the big thing. So you can like run through it pretty quick and be like, okay, I get the vibe, and then decide if you want to go from there. I read The Hobbit, enjoyed it a lot, started to read Fellowship of the Ring, and fell off it hard because it is so much more just long. It's dense.
That's why I'm kind of scared about with Tolkien.
Yeah.
Because like, I respect him a lot, right?
Yeah.
He's like, you get like a good vibe of how his head works just from how he writes. And he's so methodical, and he thinks about a lot of details. It's really fucking cool. But at the same time, it's like, dog, that's exhausting just to think about. Why would you, like, write this shit?
Yeah. I don't remember exactly, but I'm pretty sure that he wrote the Silmarillion after writing The Hobbit as well. So there's less of that, like, oh, you have to read the Bible before you can understand the rest of the story aspect to it.
Okay.
Number 22, Paddington 2.
Based.
Yeah. I've not seen any of the Paddington movies, but as highly reviewed as they all are, I kind of get it.
Let me just double check something real quick. Because I believe that is the one with Peter Capaldi in it. And if that's the case, I understand why that one's so highly regarded.
He's not shown in the starring list on this page, at least.
Damn it.
Let me see if he just got pushed further down.
He was in Paddington 2 and he was in Paddington 1.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Peter Capaldi.
Just not credited.
Fucking gem.
Mm-hmm. Number 21, Let the Right One In, a 2008 Swedish horror movie.
Okay.
I haven't heard of this one, but must be pretty good. Number 20, Knives Out.
Now we're on the good shit.
Mm-hmm. No big surprise there. It is basically kind of launched Daniel Craig's post-Bond career. I don't think it's any exaggeration to say.
I argue, right? Knives Out had an unintended consequence of revitalizing mystery films in general.
I think that's fair.
Because I swear, I look at a lot of shit on streaming, and I feel like this is just a discount Knives Out.
Mm-hmm.
Like, didn't Adam Sandler do some murder mystery movies?
Oh, absolutely no idea.
Okay, that's fine.
Probably. But he's been pretty busy for a while lately, I think, as like a producer.
True. But like, I can't look at a movie made post 2019 and not think Knives Out probably had something to deal with that.
Mm-hmm.
What's next on the list?
Number 19, Shoplifters, a Japanese drama from 2018.
I appreciate the foreign films in here.
It's nice. That's definitely an aspect of Rotten Tomatoes website that I found a bit frustrating, with there being so many of them that are very clearly on the lower budget side of things and less wide distribution. But it is nice that they're including stuff outside the US at all.
Yeah.
Number 18, I think you might have heard of this little one, Toy Story 4.
Why 4?
It's just the one that's rated the highest, I guess.
4's not that good.
I don't know what to tell you.
I'm going to sit in my chair.
Let me double check. I have the answer for you. Where did the other one go? So, Toy Story came out in 1995, and Toy Story 2 came out in 1999, so those are not included in this list. Because this is 21st century.
What about Toy Story 3? That one is like designed to make the millennials cry.
That one has slightly lower audience scores. So probably got beat out. I wouldn't be surprised if it's on the lower part of the list.
That's so funny.
Let me do a quick check. Yes. Oh, sorry. No, we haven't gotten to it yet.
Oh, okay. That's fine.
So, yeah, we will get there, I guess.
Pretend Glass Onion took that slot.
Number 17, Mission Impossible Fallout. I think this is a good one. I'm not sure. It looks like this one is the highest rated one of the Mission Impossible movies, which is fair enough, I suppose. I think there's arguments either way if you wanted to order them differently, but it's a pretty good one. Very classic action movie, does a good job with the Mission Impossible formula to be an entertaining flick. Number 16, Selma, 2014.
That's just objectively a good choice.
Mm-hmm. It's a good movie.
Selma is one of those films that has like a really good song associated with it. Have you ever heard like the John Legend Glory?
I'm pretty sure I have. Not in a while, but it sounds very familiar.
Yeah, it's a good burn. It's like a good burny, like slow burn of a song.
Yeah.
Yeah, Common's on it.
Mm-hmm. Number 15, Zootopia. This is when we get into a bit of an animation glut. For better or worse, right? There's been a lot of really good animation, so it's not super surprising, I guess. But yeah, it's Zootopia. Don't have to say much more than that. Number 14, Coco.
You're goddamn right. I stand by Coco is the best Pixar movie.
You're going to be disappointed with other parts of this list then.
I know you said the other one's on here. I know you said it. I don't give a fuck.
There's actually multiple that are above it.
Okay.
Pixar movies specifically. Number 13 included Inside Out.
No.
Which I kind of get. It's a very good movie, obviously.
I think Inside Out objectively is a good movie.
Yeah.
A wee bit too safe.
Maybe. I appreciate it for the creative perspective that it took, right? It's very unique in doing that, like, divided internal perspective through the eyes of a child. That's cool, I think.
I really like the way they contextualize like various things that we take for granted about the human experience and emotions.
Yeah.
I think it's very creative on that.
It does very well in that way as a children's movie as well, because it is obviously from the perspective of a child. So it has, it does a good job, I feel, of capturing that perspective, but does it in a way that is still relatable for adults.
Very true.
Yeah. Moving up, number 12, Spirited Away.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
Spirited Away is good.
Yeah, as does number 11, Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse.
I don't know why I didn't consider that would be on the list, but it belongs on the list.
Mm-hmm. It's very good.
Yeah. It's the best Spider-Man movie. You're goddamn right you're all silent on that, because I'm right.
That's reasonable.
You think so?
Yeah, I think that's a reasonable take.
What would be the only other take? Like, I know there's Spider-Man 2, right? And, like, Spider-Man 2, very good movie. Don't get me wrong. Spider-Man... Spider-Verse, sorry. Objectively changed the rules of fucking 3D animation and created a new style.
I do think you could make arguments for either Sam Raimi, Spider-Man 2, or Spider-Man Homecoming. But I would not ascribe to those. If somebody tried to make that argument, though, I would not dismiss that as being credible, you know?
Okay, I guess I'll put it this way, right? You come at me with these three movies, right?
Mm-hmm.
I will respect you for Spider-Verse, because you're right.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like there's a slight red flag to saying you like Spider-Man 2, because are you a nostalgic crybaby?
Well, you're also immediately saying that you're between the ages of like 20 and 35.
Yeah, exactly. Like, are you elder Gen Z?
Yeah.
Are
Elder
you
Gen Z.
millennial?
Yeah, pretty much.
And like, I don't know. Like, do you know about Spider-Man Lotus?
I do. Yeah, so, unfortunately.
Yeah, the racism of that movie has kind of ruined Spider-Man 2 for me a little bit.
Yeah.
So like,
that's reasonable.
I kind of see it like as a dog whistle on top of what it is.
That's fair.
Yeah, which is a shame because it is a good movie.
Mm-hmm.
And then if you were to come with me and tell me Homecoming was objectively the best one, I'd give you a smile. You're cooking something there.
Yeah. Yeah, it's the kind of thing where I would say that person is wrong, but you could have a debate over it. There's things to argue back and forth.
There's an actual opinion behind that.
Yeah.
And then if you told me Spider-Man, The Amazing Spider-Man 2 is the best movie, I'd probably have to, take you back to the lobotomy factory to get your lobotomy finished.
Absolutely. Back to the list. Into the top 10. Number 10, A Separation, 2011. This is a Persian drama. Released into streaming in 2014.
Hell yeah.
Number 9, 2015, Spotlight. This is one that I haven't seen.
Yeah.
But, yeah, it always ranks very highly in these kinds of things. Is rated very highly.
It strikes me as one of those Oscar bait movies.
Mm-hmm.
But, like, Oscar bait is Oscar bait for a reason. It's supposed to be good.
Yeah. Yeah, it's the kind of thing where I wouldn't deny it being very good. I'm just not sure if it's the ninth best movie of the 21st century good.
I will agree to that. Some of these movies,
Yeah.
I don't know if I fully agree to their ranking, but I understand the metrics.
Number 8, The Wrestler, 2008, Mickey Rourke, Marissa Tomei.
Okay.
This is one I haven't even heard of, so I'm probably going to have to put this on my list to figure out what the hell they're talking about. But Marissa Tomei and Mickey Rourke sounds like a damn good time. So, yeah. Piques my interest for sure. Number 7, Godzilla -1.
Based.
Not a huge surprise there. Honestly, the rest of the top movies, I'd say that there's one that pretty obviously stands out as like, okay, I good movie, don't know if it's that high, worth being that high. But all the rest of them is just kind of like, yeah, I get it. Do you want to rip through? Because out of the next, the next 4 are animated movies. And 3 of them are Pixar.
Up. Toy Story 3.
Yep.
I'm trying to think of other good ones.
You actually have them in the right order so far if you want to keep going. I will tell you the next one is animated. It is not a Pixar movie. And it is American animated. It's American.
American animated movie.
Yes.
Non-Pixar.
And it's not Shrek. I'll give you that hint. It's not Shrek.
Okay.
Shrek is, I'm sure, on here, but not top 10.
I'm gonna go with what is Frozen?
No.
Ooh.
Not Disney.
Not Disney. Oh fuck. How to Train Your Dragon?
I think that is it. Number 4, How to Train Your Dragon.
It is?
Yeah.
Oh ho ho! Fuck me, that's good.
I mean,
okay.
Yeah. Full marks there. How to Train Your Dragon is a damn good movie.
Okay.
Number 3, the last Pixar movie on the list, allegedly the best Pixar movie of the 21st century.
I don't get upset. What is it?
Finding Nemo. Yeah.
Sigh.
I wouldn't put it in that order, but I get it.
Finding Nemo came out at a very opportune time.
I will say as well, I do think that the legacy of Finding Nemo has been tarnished by having like 4 sequels at this point, sequels and spin-offs, in the way that something like Up or Coco or Zootopia hasn't. Where thinking about Finding Nemo from just the singular perspective of that original movie is kind of impossible at this point.
Yeah.
So yeah, number 6, Up. Number 5 is Toy Story 3. Number 4, How to Train Your Dragon. Number 3, Finding Nemo. Number 2, this one surprises me a little bit, Top Gun Maverick.
Boo.
Like, very good movie. I would never put it this highly. I'm very surprised to see it this highly.
Tell me you like movies without telling me you like good movies.
I mean, it's not bad, you know?
It doesn't say anything, though.
But, yeah, it's very generic.
I don't trust you if you say you're going to bring that to the film festival, right?
Mm-hmm. Oh, absolutely, yeah.
If you want a fucking war movie that's, like, actually good, like, on this list, Godzilla -1.
Mm-hmm. Which, to the credit, was up there, but yeah, I agree.
Yeah. I'm sorry, I just like everything Maverick does. And I might be the wrong audience for this, right?
Mm-hmm.
I feel like there's a movie that does it better, and I don't need that particular combination of its traits in my life.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for me, the greatest indictment that I would say of Top Gun Maverick is that if I wanted to watch Top Gun Maverick, I would just watch Top Gun.
Yes.
On to number 1. Any guesses? I'll tell you, it released in 2019, and it is not English.
2019 Parasite.
Yes. Parasite comes in at number 1. Not at all surprising.
I've never seen Parasite.
Me neither, but people sure like it.
It's like one of those movies. Like, do you know about the novel Infinite Jest?
I do, yes.
It's Infinite Jest. Once you see the movie, you just like you get put into like a club and you get addicted to it, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Because everybody who says like seen Parasite just seems to think that same way, you know?
Mm-hmm.
It must be good. That's all I can say. It must be good.
Credit to the people who did make this list. It's fairly solid all around. I'm skimming through it right now just to see if there's anything that immediately jumps out to me as like, oh yeah, I think that's bad kind of stuff. And honestly, a lot of it is foreign language movies, which is pretty cool to see. This is kind of a neat way if you wanted to find foreign language films to start watching. This is like the top ones, right?
Yeah.
So that's cool.
One
that did... Yeah. No, I was going to say, one that jumps out to me as like the only movie on here I said that I would not even consider for this list is the movie Your Name. I'm still a hater of that.
I'm surprised The Dark Knight wasn't on the top 25.
I was too. To be fair, though, it is number 32, but I would have thought it'd be higher as well.
Like, film bros go fucking crazy for The Dark Knight.
Mm-hmm. I would imagine that it probably got pulled down some by its initial critical reviews. It has had a much better reception as it has aged.
Fair.
Yeah. Yeah, a lot of this is pretty standard fare. I do like that there's a mix of... I'll actually say, there's not that many, as you would put it, Oscar bait type movies. There's not that many spotlights, right? There's many more... Dark Knight, Iron Man, Casino Royale kind of stuff. And there's a lot of animation.
It's almost like animation is film.
Interesting. They have John Wick Chapter 4 in here as the first entry. The highest rated entry, I guess.
Okay. You know, why not?
I can respect it. I need to go and watch more of the John Wick movies. That's a bit of a blind spot for me. I saw the one in theaters just on kind of a whim, because I was just like, why not? And after seeing it, it's just like, oh shit, this is really well made.
I feel like to some extent they have to be.
Wow, okay. Notable absence here in the pile of animation. Shrek did not make the cut.
Disney win.
That's wild. Neither Shrek or Shrek 2 made this list. I'm genuinely surprised by that.
I don't get it.
Like, Shrek 2 released at Cannes. It has to be good. All right, getting to real movies now. We have our release of this week. Jurassic World Rebirth.
No.
Is this the 6th or the 7th one? I guess that's a good place to start with, is just like, why are we still doing this? Is just, I couldn't even tell you how many of these they've made.
We are entering Star Wars numbers and approaching pornography numbers.
Yeah. Going to the Jurassic Park Wikipedia page. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. This is the 7th.
So this is their Force Awakens.
Mm-hmm.
I don't like this. I don't like it at all. I think, okay, we talked about this a little bit before the show, right? There's only like 2 objectively acceptable Jurassic Park movies.
Mm-hmm.
Jurassic Park is not a good film franchise.
Yeah. It has high moments, right? Obviously, Jurassic Park is very good.
Yes.
The original one. Groundbreaking, great from Steven Spielberg. And then everything after that's just been kind of weak. Jurassic Park 3 is pretty solid. but again, pales to the original. Likewise, Jurassic World, pretty good, entertaining movie, but not phenomenal. Very good, entertaining, but yeah, only that. And then everything after that has just been a slog.
Terrible. It is a film franchise that, like the dinosaurs, should probably stay dead.
Mm-hmm.
I saw Dominion back during the pandemic, and I have not forgiven this franchise for wasting my 2 hours of life.
Fascinating. I think seeing stuff. Oh, what was it that I heard? So I was talking about Independence Day. Did you know that Independence Day had a number of books written afterwards that talked about more of the story of the Independence Day world?
No.
I find these sorts of like mixed media franchises to be like not good, to be clear, right? Like the new Independence Day movie sucked, and likewise with the Jurassic Park stuff, it's a lot of pretty mediocre things. But apparently, the Jurassic Park series has had multiple canonical animated television series that have been made for it, including one that is still running.
Did you hear that?
I did not.
Okay. Houdini ran into the office and started meowing real loud. So I was curious if my microphone picked him up.
Compressor's working overtime.
The compressor really is doing its job. Thank you, compressor. That being said, I'm thinking my cat also does not like Jurassic Park.
Mm-hmm.
So why do we have TV shows in Jurassic Park World?
No idea, honestly. But I just found it interesting that they've had 2 TV shows that have run for multiple seasons each, and something called Battle at Big Rock that was an American short film following the events of Fallen Kingdom.
Okay, hear me out, right?
I've never heard of this. Yeah, go for it.
Jurassic Park, big dumb movie franchise.
Mm-hmm.
We combine it with another big dumb movie franchise. What's the last big zombie franchise?
That's a good question. I feel like the biggest proper zombie franchise is still The Walking Dead.
So we combine Jurassic Park with The Walking Dead.
Mm-hmm. Zombie dinosaurs?
No, dinosaurs and zombies.
Oh.
Yeah. Because, like, they parallel each other. They're the living dead.
All dinosaurs are zombie dinosaurs.
Exactly, objectively.
I see what you mean.
Yeah. So what we do is, like, it's the Jurassic Park world, and people are trying to find a way to bring people back to life using Jurassic Park technology, and they actually accidentally make zombies.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah. So you have, like, all these Jurassic Park dinosaurs and zombies roaming all over the park. People are trying to escape. And so you get, like, cool as shit, like people riding Triceratops and shooting zombies with a sawed-off shotgun.
Sure.
Yeah. My Kickstarter is coming. It is more with the dinosaur ideas than anything these last few movies have done.
Oh, absolutely. And especially, and well, I guess this is a good chance to go into the plot synopsis, because it is hilarious how much this movie just does not care about anything that happened before it. So 5 years after the events of Jurassic World Dominion, the planet's ecology has proven largely inhospitable to dinosaurs. Those remaining exist in isolated equatorial environments with climates resembling the one in which they once thrived. The 3 most colossal creatures within that tropical biosphere hold the key to a drug that will bring miraculous life-saving benefits to humankind. So yeah, we're now into Jurassic World Rebirth, and they open with the last, like, 3 movies just don't matter anymore.
There's many Jurassic Parks now, if you will. Anything that has to go into like drug plot lines where they need to make a miracle drug just instantly loses me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I do think it is an interesting perspective on it. The entire Jurassic Park series has been kind of strangely based in relatively reasonable science for the subject matter, you know? So it's not the most surprising to me that they have gone in this direction with it.
I say it's reasonable in the sense that they do draw a line of how we got from point A to point B.
Mm-hmm.
How do we go from no dinosaurs to many dinosaur?
Yeah.
Frogs.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because fuck it, why not? Explains why we don't have feathers.
Yeah, pretty much. It is, I think, an amusing way because, like, obviously the end goal of all Jurassic Park storylines is to facilitate people and dinosaurs being in the same place, so that presumably the dinosaurs can start to eat the people.
Mm-hmm.
So I think this is serviceable enough. You know, it's not gonna blow any socks off, and we're seeing that from the reviews, but it seems better than Dominion. That's for damn sure. You know, the bar's low, right? But boy, did they clear it.
Hell yeah. Maybe just don't get Jeff Goldblum in this one.
Yeah. I do find the cast for this to be, well, I guess one particular cast member to be a bit of a standout. Not super surprising, but it has Scarlett Johansson in it, I guess.
Oh my god.
I hadn't heard this, but yeah.
I guess they needed someone to sell tickets?
I imagine that that's the case, yes. It's the name that they can put on the poster to get people to come see the next Scarlett Johansson movie.
What's the reviews for it look like? What's the Rotten Tomatoes at?
So right now we are at a 52% from critics, with the consensus being that it has good set pieces and it's a bit dated in its ties back to the original Jurassic Park stuff. What do they have? It doesn't evolve this prehistoric franchise, but it does restore some of its most reliable DNA.
Boo.
And then audience scores are mostly positive, 72%. You know, it's not doing anything particularly crazy, but it does it fine. And their synopsis has more puns, of course.
I'm tired. I just want Jurassic Park to end.
One more week is all we have to wait for peak summer cinema to finally get here.
I am so ready for Superman versus Fantastic Four.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to buy the Domino's Fantastic 4-in-1 pizza and go out on my birthday for that movie. Have you seen that promotion?
I haven't.
Domino's is doing like where you can cut your pizza up into 4 different quadrants, if you will.
Domino's Fantastic Four. Fabulous Four?
Is that what they
Is that
call
what this
it?
is?
Maybe.
Or is it Little Caesars?
I don't know.
I see a Little Caesars ad for Fantastic Four. There's a Fantastic Four Domino's pizza box. Apparently both Little Caesars and Domino's have promotions with Fantastic Four right now.
Those fantastic whores.
Little Caesars has the Fantastic 4-in-1 pizza.
Okay, that's what I'm thinking of then.
And it's just a pizza with 4 things?
Yeah.
That's the gimmick?
That's the gimmick.
Great.
Dude, I kind of want to get into like the whole movie promo food culture. It seems so stupid.
It's not like $8 for a pizza is not a terrible price, but
when it's essentially like 4 toppings on 4 different sides of the pizza, though.
Yeah. I feel bad for the people who have to make these, that they have to like pay attention to how they're putting the toppings on, you know?
Oh yeah.
It's not much, but it's like an extra step in a job that's already kind of shitty and rushed.
You want to talk to me about how shitty it is working in a pizzeria? This motherfucker would get me on the fucking phone and have him get breadsticks delivered to him.
Exactly.
I still remember when
What
you
is
called
this?
me during my shift, and you're like, "Is this Corey?"
Wait a minute. Apparently the Domino's promotion is Domino's Malaysia?
What?
Is this right? This is only a Malaysia thing? No, I guess it's everywhere. It's just pulling up Malaysia promos. This is very different, though. And it seems like it's, like, only tangentially related. I don't know what's going on. Little Caesars is definitely the one with the 4 quadra pizza, though.
My ass will be seated. I'm gonna have to like cut that up into like little individual slices and then like take them into like my trench coat and then go into the theater. Okay, actually, let's put money on it, right? Well, not put money, but you know, let's make our bets. Who's winning, Superman or Fantastic Four?
I'm fairly confident it's going to be Superman.
I'm confident it's going to be Superman as well because it's newer and more fresh.
Yeah.
I think Fantastic Four will be good. It'll probably be my choice. However, objectively speaking, there's more interest in Superman culturally.
Yeah.
Okay. And with that, anything else for the show, Kyril?
That's all I got.
Cool, because the cat is trying to get on my laptop, and I know he's going to stop the recording with his little feet. I'm Miss Orion, and I've got a cat ass in my face right now.
And I'm Kyril, and I'm also a Schmoes.